Let's talk about something that really messes with your head. We all live our lives thinking that the past causes the present, which in turn causes the future. The arrow of time only flies one way, right? Well, what if that's just an assumption? What if the universe doesn't have to play by that rule? Today, we are diving deep into one of the most mind-bending ideas in all of physics and philosophy: backward causation.
So here's our roadmap for this little trip. First, we're going to define what backward causation actually is, and just as importantly, what it isn't. Then we'll talk about the kind of universe this idea needs to even be possible. After that, we'll face the biggest paradox that tries to shut this whole idea down. And finally, we'll hunt for clues in the truly bizarre world of quantum mechanics before we're left with one massive cosmic question. All right, first things first, what in the world are we even talking about when we say backward causation? It all boils down to one single question that goes against every fiber of our intuition. Can, in effect, the result of something actually happen before the very thing that caused it? So this is the core of it. The technical term is retrocausation. Basically, the why something happens still comes before the what in a logical sense. But, and this is the kicker, on a calendar or a clock, the what might happen on Monday while the why doesn't happen until Tuesday. The causal chain is still there, it's just that our experience of time gets turned on its head. Okay, we have to get something super clear right now. When we discuss this, we are absolutely not talking about time travel. Forget the sci-fi movies, this is something else entirely. See, in time travel stories, you always get these causal loops. Becoming your own grandpa, that whole thing. But even when you're in a time machine, your personal experience of time moves forward. Your watch still ticks second by second. Backward causation is, believe it or not, even weirder. There's no loop. Instead, for the system involved, time itself would actually run in reverse. Your watch would literally start ticking backward. So for going to even entertain this wild idea, we can't just plug it into our normal, everyday view of reality. It comes with a pretty steep price of admission, and that price is your entire understanding of what time is. So the real question becomes, what kind of universe would even allow for this? What does the very fabric of time need to look like for the future to reach back and give the past a little nudge? Well, philosophy gives us a few options. There's presentism, which says only this exact moment you're in right now is real. Then there's possibilism, sometimes called the growing block universe. It says the past is set in stone, the present is real, but the future is just a fog of possibilities. And then there's the third option, eternalism. And this is it. This is the non-negotiable ticket to the party. For a future event to cause a past one, that future event has to actually exist. It needs to be just as real and solid as the past it's influencing. That means you need eternalism, or what Einstein called the block universe, where everything that ever has happened, is happening, and will happen exists all at once. Our perception is just a spotlight moving along this block. All right, so let's say you're on board with the block universe. You're still not out of the woods. In fact, you're about to run headfirst into the single biggest philosophical objection to this whole idea. It's a thought experiment called the bilking argument. Okay, follow me on this. Let's say a psychic predicts a coin will land on heads. The backward causation idea suggests the cause of his prediction is the actual coin flip, which happens in the future. But after you hear him say heads, what stops you from just deciding, you know what, I'm not going to flip the coin? Suddenly you have the effect, his prediction, but you just intervened and made sure the cause never ever happens. That's a paradox, a logical impossibility. But here's the wild comeback to that argument. Some philosophers suggest that if backward causation is a fundamental law of the universe, then the universe simply wouldn't let you create a paradox. Any attempt you make to intervene is doomed to fail. You'd trip on your way to flip the coin. A bird would snatch it out of the air. Something would happen to ensure that the cause remains linked to its effect. You just can't break the chain. So philosophy leaves us with a real head-scratcher. But what about the hard sciences? What does physics have to say? Well, it turns out that some of the strangest experimental results ever recorded at least seem to flirt with this very idea of retrocausality. This is where we go deep, deep down the rabbit hole. In these incredibly bizarre experiments, like the delayed choice quantum eraser, physicists have found that making a measurement on a particle now appears to retroactively determine the state of its entangled partner in the past. I'm going to say that again, because it's nuts. A choice made in the future seems to dictate what has already happened. For all the world, it looks like information traveling back in time.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, this is a huge one. Most physicists are not sold on this at all. The debate is intense. The more mainstream view is that these experiments don't prove the future is changing the past. They just prove that our everyday logic completely breaks down at the quantum level. They argue it's not backward causation, it's just fundamental quantum weirdness. Particles not having definite properties until they're measured, and so on.
So where does all this leave us? Well, we're in this fascinating, totally unresolved spot. We have a concept that shatters our deepest intuitions, we have brilliant philosophical arguments cutting both for and against it, and we have these tantalizing but furiously debated clues from the quantum realm.
And in the end, it all boils down to one monumental question. Is causality really a one-way street, an arrow of time that's just a product of our human perception? Or is there a much deeper, time-symmetric reality out there that we are only just beginning to grasp? It's a question for the future to decide. Or maybe the past has already answered it for us.